Hello, dear students. This is Vishal sir from Ikra High School. Today, we'll continue the second part for Chapter 15, Subject Science, Standard 10th. Our today's topic begins from Food Web. So, dear students, before we start Food Web, let's revise what we learnt in food chain. So, we studied that a series of organisms feeding on one another was considered as a food chain, as each step or level of the food chain formed a trophic level. The autotrophs or the producers were the first trophic level, while the consumers and the decomposers formed the second, third, and fourth trophic level. We also studied that the interaction among various components of the environment involved flow of energy from one component of the system to another. Also, only a small portion of the average value of the amount of organic matter was taken forward. Thus, little energy was available for the next level of consumers in food chain. So the better option was food web, so that more and more amount of energy can be transformed to other organisms. So now let's continue about food web. From the energy flow diagram, two things become clear. Firstly, the flow of energy is unidirectional. That means it goes only in one direction. Second, the energy that is captured by the autotroph does not revert back to the solar input, and the energy which passes to the herbivores do not come back to the autotrophs. As it moves progressively through various trophic level, it is no longer available to the previous level. So this was called a unidirectional flow of energy. The second important part that we need to understand is the energy available at each trophic level get diminished progressively due to the loss of energy at each level. Another interesting aspect of food chain is how unknowingly some harmful chemicals enter our body through the food chain. So you might have studied in the earlier class about the use of fertilizers and pesticides which progress to other organisms also when they consume the former organisms. And thus the chemicals also transform from one organism to other organism. These chemicals are either washed down into the soil or into the water bodies. From the soil, these are absorbed by the plants along with water and minerals. And from the water bodies, they are taken up by aquatic plants. This is the one of the way in which they enter the food chain. As these chemicals are not degradable, these get accumulated progressively at each trophic level. Also, as human beings occupy the top level in the food chain, the maximum concentration of this chemical get accumulated in our bodies. This phenomenon is known as biological magnification. So, the things that humans use to kill a pest and to grow the food at the faster rate, that chemicals in return were consumed by the humans itself because they are at the topmost level in any food chain. And this is the reason why our food grains such as wheat, rice and vegetables and fruit and even meat contain varying amount of pesticide residue. They cannot always be removed by washing other means. So here children you can understand the food web. If you go through the producers, these producers are consumed by one or many organisms. You can see here the arrows are interlinked with many organisms. So this way, the flow of energy from producers to the primary consumer, secondary consumer and the tertiary consumers flow in many directions, not in unidirection. Thus, a food web is better form of flow of energy than a food chain. The food chain is unidirectional and the flow is not reversible. That means energy consumed by the tertiary consumers are not returned back to the soil by itself. But in a food web, the flow of energy is in many direction and that energy is again stored back to the soil when the tertiary animals or any animal or the plant get decomposed. This is the new topic that makes us understand that how our activities affect the environment. As you know, The man is the one and only sole responsible for all the disturbances caused in the environment. The changes he makes to comfort himself indirectly pollutes or disturbs the environment. We are an integral part of the environment. Changes in the environment affect us, and our activities change the environment around us. We have already seen in the lower class how our activities pollute the environment. So, here we'll study human activity that affects the ozone layer, which is above the surface of the earth, and it protects the earth from the harmful radiation of the sun. But it is now getting depleted at a very faster rate. Now let's know more about ozone in this topic. Ozone is a molecule formed by three atoms of oxygen. While oxygen, which we normally refer to as oxygen, that is O2, is essential for all aerobic forms of life, ozone is a deadly poison. So, usually, living beings, if they inhale ozone, they may get sick or they may die. However, at a higher level of the atmosphere, ozone performs an essential function. It shields the surface of the earth from the ultraviolet radiation from the sun. The radiation that is emitted by the sun is highly damaging to organism. It is known to cause skin cancer in human beings. But ozone at the higher level of the atmosphere is a product of UV radiation acting on oxygen molecule. So when oxygen reaches at the higher altitude, these oxygen molecules are then split apart by the reaction or the radiation of UV rays. This oxygen gets transformed into free oxygen. When these atoms combine with molecular oxygen, it forms ozone. Here you can understand better how the reaction takes place. At the upper layer, the oxygen gets splitted into two parts, one atom of oxygen each, due to the ultraviolet radiation of the sun. When this one atomic oxygen combines with the molecular oxygen, that is O2, it becomes ozone, which in return protects us from the harmful radiation of the sun. The amount of ozone in the atmosphere began to drop sharply in 1980s. This decrease has been linked to synthetic chemicals like chlorofluorocarbons. These chemicals, chlorofluorocarbons, are used as refrigerant. That means the product that makes our air cool. These refrigerants are used in air conditioners, even fire extinguishers, and in even refrigerators. In 1987, the United Nations Environment Program, UNEP, it already succeeded in forging an agreement to freeze CFC production at 1986 level. That means at the level when it was in 1986, they succeeded in avoiding to make more CFC products in 1987. So it is now mandatory for all the manufacturing companies to make CFC free refrigerators throughout the world. Let's read one more topic about managing the garbage we produce. So in our day-to-day activity, we generate a lot of material that are thrown away. What are some of these waste materials? What happens after we throw them away? Let's perform an activity to understand what happens to the garbage that we produce. Activity 15.5. Collect waste material from your homes. This could include all the waste generated during a day like the kitchen waste, spoiled food, vegetable peels, used tea leaves, milk packets and empty cartons. Waste paper, empty medicine bottle, strips, bubble packs, old and torn clothes and broken footwears. Bury this material in a pit in the school garden, or if there is no space available, you can collect the material in an old bucket, flower pot and cover it with at least 15 cm of soil. Keep this material moist and observe at 15-day interval. What are the materials that remain unchanged over a long period of time? What are the materials which change their form and structure over time? Of these materials that are changed, which one changes the fastest? So in the chapter of life processes, we had studied that the food we eat is digested by various enzymes in our body. Have you ever wondered why the same enzyme does not break down everything we eat? Enzymes are specific in their action. Specific enzymes are needed to break down of a particular substance. And that is why we do not get any energy if we try to eat coal. Many human-made materials like plastic will not be broken down by the action of bacteria or other saprophytes. These material will be acted upon by physical processes like heat and pressure. But under the ambient condition found in our environment, these persist for a long time. Thus, children, we come to understand that the non-biodegradable substances that is produced by us are more harmful or the most harmful pollutants in our environment. They do not get degraded, and that is why they persist over the land for over a very long period of time. Not even on land, they can be in the sea also, ocean bed also, they are found everywhere. And these creates indestructible type of pollutant. So scientists have categorized our waste material into two parts, a biodegradable and non-biodegradable. The substances that are broken down by biological process are said to be biodegradable. But the substances that are not broken down in this manner are said to be non-biodegradable. And these substances may be inert and simply persist in the environment for a long time or may harm the various members of the ecosystem. So dear students, mostly we must use substances that are made of biodegradable substances. The non-biodegradable substances should be avoided or should be reused or should be recycled so that there is less amount of pollutants in our environment.